So I've collected a ton of reference, some public domain, some the copyright is held by whoever created the image. A Google image search does not show you things that you're allowed to use, only public domain images. So a search like Pixabay does allow you to, it only has public domain images. It also has only high resolution images, which are very helpful. But so far I've only searched for mountains. And so I've got a ton of mountains in this folder. And in order to get a good look at them, this is kind of how I do a design board digitally. I am going to open the folder and I'm going to go to View Options, Show View Options under this gear within the folder window. And I'm going to make each icon pretty big. And I'm going to make the grid space between them very, very small. And I'm basically going to group them all together. So if I arrange by name, for instance, or even better yet, arrange by size. So basically these three are not big enough. They shouldn't be less than a megabyte. I can get a sense of a lot of images at once. And that's the one I know I want to use. So I might even relabel that and just put a space at the beginning so that when I view it by name, it shows up at the top. And that's usually how I'll kind of pick the ones I'm most excited about. I really like this rock in the foreground there. Might do that. I really like this. The more unique, the more I'm into it. I like this as a background, even though it's a little claustrophobic. I really like this one. And you can get to where you can rename them just by clicking and then hitting return. So now I have a good setup at the top here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't know, 6 at the top that I'm pretty sure I want to use. And I have lots of other kind of backups. And then the bridge, yeah, I could challenge myself, try to use the bridge. Challenge myself, try to use this. So I have a lot of very disparate options at the moment. Let's see, can I see the bridge working? Yeah, possibly. I'll try that one out. And then I like this one too. So you search and you fall in love with certain ones, and then you see how something could come together. And then you abandon other ideas that you might have had. Then you might search for some extra stuff. So those are my mountains. I'm going to minimize that. Now I want to look for dark chocolate, because I'm going to try to put a food item in here somewhere. And I'm on Pixabay, so it's all free. And I'm looking for things that look kind of like natural textures I could use. Like this, the broken edges. Broken cookie could work. Open them in a new tab. Broaden my search terms. See if anything pops out. And then if not, I can just go to a Google image search. Yeah, that kind of crumbly cliffside texture. I want something that will work as a rock. I don't love the vignetting on that. That will make it a little bit more difficult to use. And that's just not very good. So let's just go to Google. Image search. The crumbles, very nice. But I want to make sure it's big enough. So I want to go to search tools, size, larger than 10 megapixels. It's a high bar. But look at that. Now I just need to make sure I transform it. That looks good right there. So this is your super secret challenge. Try to get a food item into your landscape composition. Not in a way that says, oh look, there's a brownie. But in a way that says, what a cool landscape. I would have never guessed there was a brownie in it. It's pretty nice too. Okay, now this is the creative part, which means it's the hardest part. So this is great except for the aperture effect and how it's out of focus in the background there. Same thing with this. I mean, food bloggers are great. The reason I chose a food item is there's so many food pictures, probably more food pictures than landscape. But they always use a macro lens, and so a lot is out of focus. But look at that, that's beautiful. And gluten-free. So now that I know some of the things I want to include, the creative challenge I've set myself is to make a believable landscape, believable on its own terms, out of at least 5 of these references. And so I'm going to take my favorites. I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller so I can fit them in on my screen so that you can see me sketch while I'm looking at them. So show view options. There it is. Shrink them down. So I'm getting the chocolates and I'm getting the ones I like most. And I'm going to create in Photoshop just a sketchbook page. And I'm going to draw 2 compositions, 2 thumbnail drawings. One that is landscape format, wider than it is tall. One that is portrait format, taller than it is wide. So I'm just going to use my brush. You might do this on a new layer. And it's like sketching anything. I'm just going to use a low opacity, regular brush, black. Okay, and I'm first going to draw my boundaries. So here is my landscape format composition, and here is my portrait format composition. And now I have to kind of envision, how can these elements fit together like puzzle pieces? I know I want this. So maybe that starts right in the corner right here. And I'll call this, colored rocks. It's actually called rainforest there, so I can say rainforest. And if I know I just want to use it, I might even give it a color. So make that one green. It's a good to go. Now that's going to lead, where's a transition? I have an edge there, but I have to transition somehow. And what can that transition to? So it can transition into Mountain 5 and these kind of rolling rocks, then these hills, and these mountains. So this is a little puzzle piece I'll call Mountain 5. I'll mark that green. This one will be my green composition. But what's going to go under that? What's going to push the foreground? Well, maybe the creek here, I can open it up and I can try flipping it. Flip the negative just in preview. So it can come in from this side. And I can use those as kind of framing elements, that big rock, that water, as a transition up to this. And I'll call this element, so this is number 2, that's number 1, this is number 3, and that's creek. Now, this is where I want to use the chocolate. So I have this pile of kind of debris, chocolate mound. It's 5374. So that could be my 4th reference. It's one idea. I also have these cookies, which maybe can go in over here. And they are gluten-free. So that's number 5. Now I have 5 images, but I don't have a complete landscape yet. So now I need to think of other mountains and sky. And so I've got these red peaks. Number 7. Can I use the bridge anywhere? Oh, that's tricky. Got the Labrador mountain range here. It's very pretty. And named after a dog. What's not to like? Number 8. Don't see any clear place to use the bridge. So I'm going to use the bridge as kind of the foundation for my portrait format one. And now I'm looking for sky. Really cool sky. I like the clouds there. But this Pikes Peak sky, I think that's going to do it. At least gives me a way to start. And that's number 9. So that's 9 images together that are all marked green. And so now, when I come back and I have this sketch, I have an approach. So I'm going to save this as Carl Fantasy Landscape Sketch as a PSD before I screw it up to the desktop. And this is my green composition. So if I arrange by tags, it will sort all my green images together. And that makes it really easy to know what reference to use. Okay, now I could use those same references and recompose them into this, or I could try using other references. But I want to make sure I build around that bridge. So here I have that bridge, so I'm going to draw that in first. And that's kind of my entryway into this composition. So all of that is the bridge. And I'm going to mark this as orange. This will be my orange composition. I don't know how you abbreviate orange. I'll figure it out. All right. Now, what do I want with that? Let's see. So I'll take out everything that's behind the bridge and replace it with something really big and dramatic to set up more mountains. Maybe the Lake Powell skyline. So I'm just doing crazy fantasy mountains with chocolate. Now what can